and the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and it is Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for all the toy news, action figure news of the week that interested me, that hopefully interests you. We got a huge week of the toy news to dive into, with some sad news about AEW Jazwares that I was hoping was not true, and we're going to find out and talk all about that here in a little bit. But first, got to do a little bit of housekeeping. Got to plug the Patreon, your best way to support the channel, and all the content it does bring. This month's giveaway, Bebop, Rocksteady, McFarlane Toys, giving those away to one of the Patreon members. Check out Patreon. Like I said, there's plenty of stuff over there. It's your best way to support the channel and all points in between. You can also be a YouTube channel member if you would like. Head over to Patreon right now and you get the next episode of The Kyle Peterson Show. I referenced it last week when I did the toy news about a terrible trip to Chicago. I give it all in episode 59. I give you all the gory details. And can you believe it, Todd McFarlane? I talked for about an hour straight in that video. I didn't even let Angie have a word in. That's how worked up I was about my trip. So check out episode 59 on Patreon, YouTube channel memberships right now, Tuesday for everybody on video, podcast on YouTube, and then of course wherever podcasts are found. Check out the podcast, check out the Patreon, all points in between. But now we got a ton of toy news to get down to. And let's start off with the worst news that could possibly come through if you're a fan of AEW and Jazwares. Late Friday, I got word that unfortunately the entire AEW Jazwares team over there at Jazwares were laid off on Friday. We've seen this before, most recently with WWE releases. We've talked about this many a times on the channel as well. Whenever there's job cuts, you always see them on Fridays because corporations, companies want to let go people on Friday. Then you got Saturday, Sunday, where traditionally people are off. It kind of gets forgotten. Some of the water cooler talk, I guess you could say, around the office is dulled down a little bit. And then Monday, hopefully you're starting fresh. You don't see layoffs happen on Mondays. It's always Fridays. And very unfortunate news for us fans of AEW Jazwares. But even worse news for all those designers and that team over there at Jazwares, having their income basically disappearing overnight. Now, I think a lot of us saw the writings on the wall. We've talked about it at length, at nauseum, dare I say, here on the channel about Jazwares and AEW. Where's the license go? Are they still negotiating? And my gut was telling me they were still working through and they were still communicating back and forth. Well, by eliminating that entire team at Jazwares, I think the answer is out there. AEW Jazwares line is officially done. I would assume we might not even get much after that Darby Allin we saw at Toy Fair. I don't think we're going to get the Colt Cabanas. I don't think we're going to get anything else. I think at best we have 2 or 3 figures, maybe 4 figures left to come out, and that could be possibly it. But for all intents and purposes, the relationship is done. If you let go of the team at Jazwares, there's nobody to work on it anymore. So it's all but over at this point, and kudos to that Jazwares team. Say what you want. Some people loved them, some people didn't like them, some were in the middle like every other toy line. But we got some amazing figures from Jazwares over the last, 5 years at this point? It's crazy to be that long. Some amazing packaging. I'll still say that some of their exclusives are the best packaging we've ever gotten in action figures. And I do think the Jazwares team has pushed the Mattel team to even do better with that competition. And now that is all gone. I hope those people over there can find jobs in the industry if that's what they want to continue to do. Todd McFarlane, should they send a resume to you at McFarlane Toys? Guys out there watching, send it to Todd McFarlane. He's going to hire the first 3 people. Maybe not. But hopefully those guys all land on their feet over there. Who knows? Maybe there's room on the Mattel team for something. You never know with the moving and shaking in the toy industry. And business is tough. Friday afternoons are a tough time to get called in an office or to get an email. I know firsthand. I've always survived job cuts, but I've been part of maybe 13 job restructurings in major corporations, major corporations. It's always dicey. There's always survivor guilt in that kind of thing. I always feel like, why was I kept? And why was my buddy across the hall gone? It's just corporate America. And it's a tough business being in corporate America, let me tell you. But hopefully everybody at the Jazwares team that got let go can land on their feet. And I don't know what this means for future AEW action figures. I don't know. I don't feel very good about it, but we'll see what happens in the future. We'll want to cover off on that. For all intents and purposes, it is over, guys. It's over. You know, I've been saying there's hope, there's hope, there's hope. I know some people have been claiming, oh, it's over for the last 3 years or so, but until it was kind of officially, nothing's over until the bell rings. Exactly, Todd McFarlane, and the bell, unfortunately, has rung. So there it is, the AEW Jazwares update. We just unboxed some figures on the channel, the Outrunners and Dalton Castle this week, so check out those. Hopefully we get a couple of more. Mark Sterling is around the corner. Tanahashi. Hopefully that Darby Allin. And we'll see where it ends up going from there. So, I don't know. More to come, or maybe not, the way it goes. But now we're going to move over to WWE Mattel. And we're going to the Coliseum Collection. That was the buzz last week in the toy news. A little bit more details given this week on the future of the Coliseum Collection, as it looks like it is moving away from the LJN style. I don't know if the style is the right word, but the homage, Todd McFarlane, to the LJN style with the Coliseum Collection. Now they're moving to other toy lines like Hasbro and Titantrons. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? More on that in a second here. But there's been a lot of people screaming for a long time, and I've even mentioned it in the past, it would be very fun to get a figure line like the Coliseum Collection for the Hasbros. I think that would be a very, very fun line. It looks like we are getting that with this Yokozuna. Now, you could almost make the case it's a Bone Cruncher. There was that red packaging Bone Cruncher, but I'm pretty sure this is the Hasbro influence on this one. And then Kane, the Titantron Live, which very famous packaging, absolutely horrible figures. You guys know around here, R3s and Titantron Lives and the Marvel Toy Biz TNA style figures. Those made me quit action figure collecting in the wrestling headspace for a few years. I said, I don't like these figures at all. I'm out. I'm done. I'm moving on. I was brought back into the game with the Ruthless Aggression style. So those are near and dear to my heart, as you guys know, with the classic superstars especially. But I hated the Titantron Live figures. Love the Hasbros. I was a Hasbro kid, so of course I love that. And it's a way to make this line continue because, let's be honest, the Coliseum Collection, a little bit tough as far as LJN. Can you get the Tardar Cities and the Outback Jacks of the world? I think they were running out of runway, and unfortunately, the talent that they could maybe get for it wouldn't even sell that great. As much as I want an Outback Jack, my first ever wrestling figure, I think most people don't want an Outback Jack. And that's unfortunate. What's wrong with you people? Look yourselves in the mirror. You need an Outback Jack figure. But unfortunately, they were out of opportunities, out of ideas, and this is a way to extend the line and continue the line. I'm glad I got out many moons ago, a year plus ago, as being a Double Up Club member here, because this would probably make me finally say, okay, it's time to stop being a Double Up member. I will still continue to get these figures. I will open them on the channel, but I'm not going to be a Double Up Min on card collector, unless there's Ultimate Warriors, of course, or Terry Funks. Those are the only two I double up on at this point. But I like the idea of it. It makes a little bit more sense. It feels weird calling it Coliseum Collection, but Coliseum Collection apparently went into like 1997, something like that. So it still somewhat works, but I don't really think of Hasbro. The Coliseum years are like that 80s years, the prime years of that. 90s is more of the, I don't know, this WWF years, I guess. It's just all about justification in your brain. But it is a cool idea, and I've seen a lot of people circle back from being totally upset to, I'm all in. I'm all in. I was all in either way, but it still feels weird to me. I don't know if the Titantrons have the love of a Hasbro and LJN style, but it'll be interesting. Will we get classic superstars inspired packaging? Could we get R3 style packaging, Bone Crunchers? Is there possibilities for these in the future? It's going to be something to keep our eyes on, but Yokozuna and Kane around the corner. Now, Kane looks to be a direct re-release of that Raw ring from, I don't know, a year and a half ago. What is time? I'd have to go back. I'm pretty sure there was 2 head sculpts on that, and there'll be multiple sets of hands. So in my collector brain, well, I can display them differently. It'll be like 2 different figures. The Yokozuna felt like we just got that, but we got it in the Elite style, not Ultimate. So once again, you do have some differences, which kudos to the Mattel team making difference and not doing just totally straight re-releases on this Yokozuna. The Kane, I would have liked to seen some differences, but it is what it is. As they say, you can't fight City Hall, but that is an interesting turn of events this week on that Coliseum Collection. Now we turn our attention to just a little bit more stuff. We did get official images of the upcoming Ultimate Edition of Cactus Jack, possibly Mick Foley's last figure from the WWE, but they're going out with a bang bang, pun fully intended. Cactus Jack, my favorite of his personas. Absolutely love this. Love that we get the Wanted Dead shirt on the figure in the package. At first we saw some images. That wasn't the case. They have made it that way. I'm probably going to get 3 of these in my collection. I wouldn't even be opposed to an autographed. I'm not a big autograph guy, but I would enjoy this autographed. We'll see if that happens in the future as well. Foley makes the rounds. There's opportunities for that. But a lot of people are going to be very excited for that, myself included. Could be a top 10 Ultimate this year. I would bet on that one there. Moving on to other toy lines here about Title Run Toys coming out with Danny Davis. I think they were showing this off at WrestleMania. We got the glamour shots this week here. So if you're after a Danny Davis to join your ref fig fed of your retro style figures, hey, jump in on that. I was actually just messing around with my Earl Hebner and Mike Chioda, both of those figures from retro companies. As you can see behind me, there's some space here. And if you guys follow me on social media, make sure you are. What are you waiting for if you're not? I was posting some pictures. I was off work this week. I don't know if you worked 40 hours on your vacation. Were you really off work, Todd? I'm not exactly sure. But I am moving around a lot of stuff here, moving around some details, probably more of that in weekly purchases, probably some videos. Talk about it in the podcast as well. I won't save it for you right here. I won't tell you all the gory details, but some of that going around, rearranging some stuff this week. Biggest retro news this week, though, for me personally, Matt Maniacs, the Nerd's Closet. We've been unboxing a lot of those figures. Very, very fun. The first ever Ole Anderson figure announced this week in a 2-pack with Arn Anderson. The Andersons riding in style once again. I'm here for this. Now, I could easily see a repaint and get Tully Blanchard in this in the future as well. I think they could do that in black tights or whatever. But very good, big get on Ole Anderson, as Ole, has passed away, but was pretty down on the modern wrestling business and kind of hard to get a hold to, hard to get autographs and stuff from. I will say, if you've ever read Ole Anderson's book, it is one of my favorite wrestling biographies ever. Ole Anderson and Gary Hart are probably my two favorites. Bret Hart's is pretty good. Mick Foley's obviously first one was pretty good. But Ole Anderson and Gary Hart are my two favorite wrestling books. So if you've ever read Ole's, it's one to check out. I always respected Ole, kind of in a grandpa way where, everybody every once in a while you get those old guys that are grumpy. That was Ole to a T. But a lot of his business sense in wrestling made sense to me. Obviously some stuff was out there too, but I enjoyed that Ole book, and I'm going to enjoy an Ole figure. Have to imagine this opens the floodgates for a big rubber guy, possibly. Who knows? Maybe even a Legends deal one of these days. So we'll see what ends up happening with Ole Anderson. But putting that business step back, I don't know how many Ole Anderson figures you're going to sell at this point, and especially in mainstream WWE Mattel terms. That might be a tough sell, but Matt Maniacs, big rubber guys, and those kind of things, I think there's some meat on the bone there. So kudos to the Matt Maniacs team for getting those. Kudos to KWK for all kinds of info every single week. This one flew under my radar a little bit here, but there is a limited J&J Figures exclusive Laredo Kid coming. The white one's the traditional. The more colorful version is J&J. So that's where you're going to go for that when the time does come. We saw Grapplers and Gimmicks this week. Savio Vega, Tio Savio, whatever you want to call him. Two versions of that. Back in the saddle from Grapplers and Gimmicks. One of the original retro figures he did once upon a time with the Godwins and a few others. Nice to see that back around. The one in white excites me a little bit more because it is different from the other one. So we got that coming to the line. He also showed off Mabel's casket. I guess that's what it is. Going to sell accessories now. Could be a new market for the retro figures. So we saw those from Grapplers and Gimmicks. And we also saw a little update from the Regime line. We did see the Godwins coming back as they did previously sell out. But now they're on single cards. Reminds me of old school NECA, but also reminds us of Pinnacle as far as the on-card department. Pretty cool, though. I don't hate this. I don't think there's a copyright on packaging styles, at least in this form factor. But if you're collecting Min on-card Regime, you're collecting Min on-card Pinnacle, guess what? You can display those side by side. It looks to be about the same size packaging. I think that is a smart move. Some people don't like it. They feel like they're copying homework, but I think some people will like that as well. So we'll see where that goes. And then speaking of Zombie Sailor toys, how about the Pinnacle line? He did show off on Instagram some Bad News Brown, Bad News Allen pictures. Looking pretty darn good there. So you know me, I'm a big Bad News fan. I loved Bad News when I was a kid for whatever reason. He stole my heart. Him and I had so many similarities, I think, is the reason. Sewer rats and, of course, the streets of Harlem. I grew on the mean streets as well. Of course, West Side KP, as we know. So Bad News and I were just very kindred spirits. Can't wait to get that Pinnacle figure of him. Another one I can't wait to get is I pre-ordered this like over a year and a half ago at this point. It feels like it is Owen Hart Pro Wrestling Tees exclusive. Apparently it's been delayed. I think it was supposed to ship out like May 5th is what we were originally told. Now it's looking like June. Man, oh man, this one's been a long, long wait. And a lot of the heat's going to Pro Wrestling Tees because it is their exclusive. But Heels and Faces Zombie Sailor Toys are making it for them. So where does the challenge lie? I guess you blame the factory. At the end of the day, you blame the factory. But apparently now the new ship date for that Owen Hart is June, so mark your calendars for that. We saw Top Rope Collectibles doing the Galoob WCW style of old. A lot of updates lately on them. They did show an image of Danhausen. I'm very excited about these Danhausen figures. They feel like they just work in this kind of form factor, and I love the different looks, and they're going to give that kind of zombie Danhausen face paint, which we never really got in the past. Very excited about some of this stuff, so we'll see where that ends up going as well. But a lot of wrestling news here this week, and of course, the most disappointing is the AEW Jazwares news today, I guess. The layoffs, unfortunately, just very, very difficult times. But speaking of difficult times, Todd McFarlane, some of the most difficult times you could easily say, it's time for the Power Town Update.
Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering?
Time for the Power Town Update. Unfortunately, nothing but bad news this week here for Power Town. What? Every week's bad news? Yeah, kind of. For about the last, 4 years, we've been covering Power Town each and every Saturday. But unfortunately, we've talked about this. Maybe the first time was 6-7 months ago. There was a post in the wrestling figure forums, and it was a talk where somebody deep dive, and kudos to that one. That guy's a real one there. Wanted to dive into trademarks and all that. Some of the boringest stuff to me. But he gave a lot of information at that time, and Power Town had a lot of trademarks they had registered for, and a lot of those were coming to be expired if they didn't get used in April and May timeframe. Well, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast talked about it this week. Apparently, the Power Town trademark has expired. So what that means is you, me, all of us, Todd McFarlane, I'm looking at you on the couch, could go and file the trademark for Power Town, basically steal that away from Steve Rosenthal and the boys. And of course, old Denny over there, we know Denny as well, could steal that away from them. Now, put my business hat on. Does anybody want the Power Town brand? Would you want to start a new company, steal that, and say, I own Power Town now? Now, if I could get it for like $50 as a joke, I would do that. Kyle now owns Power Town. I think that would be pretty funny. Should we all pitch in together and buy the trademark? Maybe that would be something to do. That would be something fun on the channel. Maybe I'll ask my dad about this. He knows a little bit about that kind of stuff. And my dad's a wise man. He's a wise wizard is what he is. But apparently Power Town has expired. The contract's out there. So what are they going to call their figures? Does this mean the figures are really, truly never coming out? Where does it go from here? And what else has expired? I don't think they're using any of these IPs and properties really at all. So it's probably best to have some of these expire. But man, Power Town's one you think you'd want to hold on to, because now I could just see the excuse. Well, we were going to ship it, but unfortunately we lost the trademark, and now we can't. We have to redo all the packaging because it says Power Town on it. I could just see it. I could just see it now. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know if we'll ever get anything. If anybody hears any news, send it on, of course. But further bad news for Power Town putting us behind. However, Brian Myers on the podcast this week, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, mentioned he talked to one Steve Rosenthal, who also is over in China right now at the factory. He's trying to get this all figured out, but I thought that was Denny's game. He was the one that was all tight with that Lucky group, unless there's something more to the story. And yep, you're exactly right. Todd's trying to get ahead of me from the couch over here. Todd, you just work on that trademark. Let me handle the heavy lifting over here. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, Steve wasn't over there for Power Town business. It makes sense. Oh, Steve went to China. You just kind of 2 and 2 in your head. You say, oh yeah, he's going over there for Power Town stuff. No. If a lot of people don't know, Steve did retire from the action figure industry, but instead what he didn't just retire. He's a guy that's, he's got time and he's got to work. He's always got to be his hands in something. He's not a guy that's just going to sit on the golf course all the time. He'll get around in a time or two, but he's not going to sit there all the time. Steve, actually, a lot of people don't know this. I'm probably breaking this news here today, Todd, that Steve Rosenthal is actually a talent scout. Yes, a talent scout. He's got contestants over at American Idol. I think the what's that other one? America's Got Talent. He's got some talent over there. So he's always got his eyes for talent. And he actually went over to China researching. He heard of this young girl that was singing over there, and he thinks she is going to be the next Madonna, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, maybe even Sabrina Carpenter. We'll see what happens. But luck as it is, of course, luck's always shining down on me, and it's usually bad luck, but occasionally good luck. Check out my video of the podcast, episode 59, coming this Tuesday, or right now on Patreon. You can hear all about bad luck. But as luck does have it, I did get some video of this little girl and her talents. Absolutely amazing. Song and dance. She's truly a triple threat right here. Bring her to America. She's going to steal all of our hearts. She could be the next big thing. Who cares about those Power Town figures when you got raw talent like that coming straight over from China with one Steve Rosenthal, who I believe has adopted her, Todd McFarlane. So wild times in Power Town land. They're getting some new talent from China, losing trademarks. It's a never-ending journey. A wild, wild ride it has been the last couple of years with Power Town. But as Jerry Reed always says, more toy news to dissect this week. Of course, He-Man Mania running absolutely wild. And of course, got to thank Jay's Toys and Games. Use them, of course, jaystoysandgames.com. Use code Kyle, save yourself 15%. You're going to see quite the loadout tomorrow in weekly purchases. But I was in there picking up some stuff this week, and they said, man, this He-Man stuff is flying. The core line, the Origins, the Chronicles, it is all flying off the shelf right now. He-Man Mania running very hard, even harder than I assumed it would be. And that is great news with the movie here less than a month away. Hopefully that movie is successful. We could be living in a new golden age of He-Man that'll carry us years till the next sequel and maybe even beyond that. So very kudos to the Masters team, really doing a good job with this Masters brand. And like I said, more Master stuff tomorrow. But we did see some news this week. Toy Habits found apparently in Walmart's system. There is a vintage collection, a part of the Masterverse line of Wondar around the corner. That should be very interesting to see. Masterverse scaling not totally done yet on life support, though, is what we'll say. And then we saw Whiplash, the next figure from the 2000X series. He is going to be the next deluxe one. So if you're needing those, be on the lookout. Of course, jaystoysandgames.com. But speaking of Walmart and Wondar, speaking of Walmart this week, cancellation crisis everywhere. Now, I didn't get canceled because I'm a real one, as you guys know. I'm not pre-ordering Duke. I'm not pre-ordering a Duke figure. But the America 250 Duke figure was canceled for pretty much everybody under the sun. Now you're all in the playing field with me. I think I was in a meeting, so I didn't get to pre-order it. I said, I'll find it eventually. But this figure was canceled everywhere, and it makes sense because the Walmart Corporation, what don't they like, Todd McFarlane? Exactly. Bad press. They don't. And they found out that Duke is basically a terrorist. He's in the Epstein files. There's talk of him involved in some of this UFO disclosure, possibly a reptilian. He's possibly a reptilian. We'll see where all that ends up going. But Walmart said, we don't want anything to do with this one. So I fully expect this one to be an Ollie's special, possibly at Ross in the future, or maybe Temu and AliExpress. That's where it's going. And word on the street, Tom McFarlane, you can already get this over there at AliExpress right now if you're looking for that Duke figure. But Walmart didn't want anything to do with a downright terrorist. You think Cobra's a bad organization? Duke's bad enough on his own. He could do bad on his own, that's for sure. Or possibly we'll just find it in the Walmart stores in the future, or the pre-order will go back up. One of those things. It's like 5 lies and a truth, something like that. But I'm sure if you want that Duke, you'll be able to get it. But we're celebrating America 250. Go to your local Walmart, go to your Targets, go to your grocery stores. There's all kinds of America stuff, or World Cup soccer. Feel the fever. What's Alexi Lawless up to these days? He's still playing soccer? I think that's the only soccer player I know about. And you guys remember back in the day, a little off script right here, Todd McFarlane. I remember going to KB all the time, as one did back in the day. And my dad, of course, an avid starting lineup fan. We go to the conventions all over the place. My dad, a real one, all in on starting lineups. He was a completionist on all the lines until we go to KB and we see the 3 for $9.99 bin, and it's full of soccer players from overseas. And he says, well, this is where my completionists end because, let's be honest, in the 80s and 90s, nobody knew anything about soccer. I still don't know anything about soccer. Football? Get out of here, Todd McFarlane. We call it soccer around these parts. But I understand it's the most popular sport in the world. I get it. I totally understand it. It's just not what I grew up with. I grew up with the real sports like High-a-Lie and Jakks. Yeah, Jakks and Chinese checkers. Those kind of games, maybe. But I remember my dad just being like, no, I'm stopping here. And I think we bought one soccer guy just to check it out and see what it was like. I don't know. They did do a Pele later on in the Legends years, but I remember those soccer figures. But if you're into soccer, you're into America 250, man, go to all your stores. There's displays. There's all kinds of stuff. Will we be here, Todd McFarlane, for America 300? Todd, I don't think you're going to make it. I think I will. I'm going to squeak in. Who are we fooling? I'm not going to squeak in. I don't think so. I think my time is short. You guys better enjoy me while you can. I'm either going to die of a stroke, heart attack combo, or I'm just going to quit. That's what's going to happen. You're just never going to see me. One day Kyle disappears, and you're like, why does Kyle just have all these videos that were filmed 3 years ago showing? Because I quit, and I just said I'm going to dump all these one video a day for the next 100 days because all the stuff I have in the stockpile for when I do go. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But if you're after Duke, I'd say just hold tight. You'll find it. And it's Duke after all, of course. Moving on to some other things. Jada Toys Thunderhawk pre-order up this week. Continuing on the Street Fighter line. I don't know if I ever fought as Thunderhawk. I had to have, I'm sure, but it doesn't ring a bell. I was always Zangief if I could. Occasionally a Blanca in there, and that's pretty much where I stuck to. And I tried everybody at least once. I tried them all once, Todd. But I stuck with those two primarily. But Thunderhawk looks real good. A little bit of a deluxe figure. You know I'm here for that. Speaking of deluxe figure, next week, Target online order for Onslaught. A pivotal time of my comic reading as a kid. Love the Onslaught stories back in the day. Love the Age of Apocalypse. All that kind of fun stuff. So we saw all of that stuff, or all of Onslaught. He is coming next week. We saw it a few months back. Now pre-orders finally hitting next week. So be ready. Be ready at the pre-order button at Target next week. And now we turn to our friend Todd McFarlane from the couch. And Todd coming in hot in the prophecy, the crystal ball I've been telling you guys about. And you guys need to listen a little bit louder. I said it was going to happen. It officially was announced last week. We officially got Series 1 of the Vault announced this week. It looks like we got Medieval Spawn, Superman, that DC Collector's Edition, Series 1, if I'm not mistaken. And at that time, I wasn't all in, and I said, I just want the regular and not the Platinum. Now I'm kind of disappointed I don't have the Platinum edition of that Superman. But we got Superman from Action Comics 1 coming. Wonder Woman, a lot of people after that one. I never got the Platinum of that Wonder Woman. No word if we're going to have regular and Platinums with these. Doesn't sound like we are. But Wonder Woman's coming. We got Joker and Batman from the movies coming as part of from the Vault Series 1. And I told you guys this 8 months ago when we heard the license was going away, whatever it was, that all companies, Jakks is the one that I remember the most because I was really living in it at the time, but they want every dollar out of all of our wallets, and they're going to re-release some hard-to-find figures to get more money on their way out. They already got the tooling. They already got it. It doesn't hurt to make another run because guess what? McFarlane would rather have the money than... they'd rather have themselves have the money than somebody off of eBay. It just makes business sense. We put our business hat on around here. Vault Series 1 coming, I believe, October. I would guess there's going to be a Vault Series 2 and 3, and that would be November, December. I think that's how they'll do it as they do end the line. Now, we could see them flood the market in December with retailers. Here's a ton of stuff. As long as it ships by the end of December, it'll still be in stores maybe Q1 of 2027. So you're going to see a weird time where McFarlane and, of course, Mattel will be on the same pegs with a little bit of that DC stuff. You'll see some crossover. We saw that with Jakks and Mattel back in the day. Very interesting times, of course. So we'll stay tuned to that. But Vault Series 1 coming. But that's not it. We also got some other things. The Bat Missile is coming. Another quasi-Batmobile. Probably a pass for me on that. And then we saw Solomon Grundy Green Lantern 2-pack. Basically repaints of figures we've had in the past. But it does look good. I love a big giant figure. We haven't got a really good Solomon Grundy, and this one is painted more the way I want it to be painted. That's what we'll say about that, so that looks pretty good. And then last, but certainly least, Todd McFarlane, Elite Shadowhawk from his Image line. I just don't like the $50 price point on somebody like a Shadowhawk. You know, $35, okay, I can maybe deal with that. This is pretty pricey for, let's be honest, not the biggest character. A lot of people in the 90s, I remember getting Shadowhawk #1. It was all about getting those first issues back in the day. But he never really lit the world on fire, at least in my old playground and neighborhood. Maybe he did in yours. Let me know. A lot of people thought he looked kind of like a Wolverine, maybe Batman ripoff, a little amalgam of the both, maybe. And that's a line we really need. Why can't we ever get an amalgamation line? How do we get that one of these days? I would love to see that. That was a huge event in my comic reading days as well. But be interested to see how well the Shadowhawk sells. That being said, the Elite Spawn never hit the stores around me. I have seen it on my travels for work, but I've never seen it in like the 14 Walmarts around me. I got like Diablo, is that a video game or something? Diablo Elite collections at all my stores, and they're just peg warming at that $50 price point. So I don't know. I would love to check out Shadowhawk. I had the old one from McFarlane Toys. I just don't think $50 is going to work for me on this one. Unless I get a sale, I go over to Jay's, save myself 15%. That's not a bad piece of business. But man, if I get around 30, 35, that would feel a little bit better. Game time decision, future Kyle problem is what that is. But that's it for the toy news this week. Some difficult news on AEW Jazwares, of course. Some crazy news from Power Town where Steve basically kidnapped a little Chinese girl. Or he took her as talent agency, whatever you want to call it. But man, we'll stay tuned on top of all of this stuff as we usually do each and every Saturday. And I hope you join me. And the best way to remember to join me is to subscribe to this YouTube channel, my other YouTube channel, and to, of course, hit the like button on all the videos. That'll get it in the algorithm, the almighty algorithm. It'll get you there. So make sure you're checking that out. Of course, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on the toy news this week. What are you excited for? What are you sad for? Where do we go from here with Jazwares and Power Town? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to thumbs up the video, as I said. Don't forget Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. Early access to all the videos, including this one. Early access to the podcast. Glamour shots from all the videos. You get those over there. You get a monthly Q&A, giveaways, bonus stuff, you name it. It's all going down on Patreon. Appreciate all the support from everybody. SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and TheKylePetersonShow at gmail.com, which is named my podcast, The Kyle Peterson Show. Available wherever podcasts are found and video cast on YouTube. So for another week of the toy news, you know what I'm doing. I'm rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling my way into another weekend.
Well, are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?
I walk 47 miles of barbed wire. Use a cobra snake for a